welcome to the 23rd episode of the Journey for Greatness podcast. With my man Johan Danno. Pleasure to be here. And just a really, really brief interview. We got a really quick episode here. We're going to keep it 30 minutes. And just a really quick background. Johan, musician, originally born in Florida.
Correct.
But spent the last 8 years in Australia. You're hustling. Oh yeah, get this started. Hustling, obviously doing. Sorry, we have some technical difficulties.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Oh my God. Never mind.
Yeah. But anyway, so just to give obviously a little bit of a background about you, obviously a musician, grinding it out. I noticed in your profile you said since 2005. So that's about 12 years. When did you first pick up your kind of musical inspiration in terms of just starting? You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of a crazy story, and obviously, unfortunately, so we're limited with time today because, long story short, last night I missed 2 buses, had to take a plane, flew in, played the show, and I was about to hop on a bus to go to Nashville for my show. So that's why we're limited with time. So back to your question. So music's been something I've played since I was a kid. My grandmother, classically trained pianist, played up to 2 weeks before she died. 13 years old, my guitar teacher was Eric Clapton. So music's always been in my life. I've been grinding since 2005 is when I turned 18 and I wrote, I guess, my first song. I played before then, for fun, and that's why I did it seriously. But like most people, I tried, and I failed. I failed because we put really high expectations of ourselves, or people want to play us and say how good we are, amazing we are at something, and especially with music, they're like, we should go on one of those reality TV shows or something. So I pretty much I gave up on music, and it wasn't until about 4 years ago when I reignited. I always played for fun, but it was 4 years ago when I left my corporate job, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that and everything that's been happening. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Because I can relate to that.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a whirlwind. This is my second U.S. tour, self-managed, self-funded, everything. Pretty much what you see is what you get. I have my team's growing, but my team consists of me and friends and fans like this. This is the only way I'm able to do what I did.
And let's back it up. I mean, how we first connected was absolutely mind-blowing. I reached out to you randomly. I think either you liked one of my posts or I liked one of your posts. And I go to you, look at your profile, and I noticed you're a musician, so I started looking through some of your music, and I'm like, it's pretty good. And I noticed your one song, which is called Fall in Line, and I reached out to you to say, hey, I like making videos at the time, just like vlogging videos. And I'm like, hey, man, I would love to use that song in a video. And you were like 1,000%,
100%.
In terms of inspiring people and making you feel like you're affecting one person. And to me, it was amazing because you not only responded back, but you said, hey, I'm going to be in the U.S. And I think it was, at the time, I want to say July when we first connected, whatever that time frame was. Yeah. And you said, hey, I'm going to be in the U.S. I think you mentioned doing a backyard show, and I was like, who is this guy? I had no idea. You seemed very humble, and that was something that, just came out in the first time we ever talked. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Legend, man. Yeah, and honestly, that's been my thing. It was up until about, I'd say, 4 years ago. I had a corporate job. I worked SAP, Deloitte. I grinded. I was working 80-hour weeks, 2-hour commute each way on the train, working and grinding my whole life, and gave up on music. So, and we got limited time, so I won't go too, maybe this podcast, I won't go more like I talked about.
You can have you back on for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. But I think what came to me is the fact that when I started doing music, and that's a whole separate story about why it drove me, but the main push I have is that I feel like I am right now living a life that I accepted I never would. I would never be a musician. I accepted years ago, I never record album, I never tour, it's a dream, and I listened to what everybody told me, and, I kind of fell in line. I wanted to make a stable career and stable life for myself, and the result of that is I wasn't happy, and I think a lot of people relate to that, and one day it just, after a breakup and things, it was too much. And I realized at that time that music was what I loved. So since then, anything like this moment here, doing this podcast, anything from one person who likes my music or anything I get, I'm always so grateful. Because in my eyes, I have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Because everything that's happening is, you know, in my eyes, something I expected never would. So for you reaching out and to fans, anybody, like prime example, like hell, I took two failed buses and then a flight. I pretty much spent every dollar I had to come out here to play a show for you because, you know, I appreciate you so much and people who support and believe in me. And
which is it blows my mind because we were talking, and I was in Kentucky coming back from I was doing a little racing, and Eric, you don't know this, but I quit both of my jobs. You and I talked. So Eric and I 3 days ago, I felt like my creative juices were just like fucking dry. Like I didn't have any motivation, inspiration. I was working a ton at these two jobs. I told you, bartending at a juice bar. And I talked to Eric. I said, Eric, man, I need to fucking change. I need to change. And he goes, take 4 or 5 days and just don't go on Instagram. Don't fucking update our page. Just get away from it. And we'll talk Monday or Sunday today. And so I haven't told him, but I quit both my jobs that you knew about. And he's like, we're going to come back and reconvene and see where you're at. Yeah. Because I wasn't feeling myself, right? Like I wasn't feeling like I was healthy. I wasn't active. I told you about the people that I've connected with in Charlotte that really pushed me to be healthy and get active again and do all that stuff.
So that's the thing you learn. Everything's connected. So, like, I firmly believe that, you know, if you're unhappy with one part in your life, you know, there's a saying I love I heard a long time ago, which is that in life you have two options. You know, you can either change your life or change your mind about how you live. So, prime example, like, if you're not happy with your life or how things are going, you can flip your perspective on how things are. You can look at the things that are going right in your life, the things you're grateful for. And it could be as simple as, hey, I'm really, you know, I might not have the best job, or I don't, right now, your situation, I don't have 2 jobs that, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. But the big picture is that you acted on something that, you know, you aren't happy about. And I think that people need to get over that fear. Because society, and we're pumped full of fear from marketing and just from bad conditioning. And the reality is that everything's connected. So, you know, if you want to be happy, start with your diet. Start eating healthier. Or maybe change the people you're with. Or maybe start changing the programs you want. There's little things, you know. Like at the end of the day, every action you make or every thought you have in your head can plant a seed to change the rest of your life. And it's really your call, whether you look at, you know, the value of, well, hey, you know, whatever you guys, they say garbage in, garbage out. So if you're not happy with your life or something, well, change it. And it sounds crazy, or just change how you look at it. And prime example, like where you are, I feel like it's crazy, but you're living. You know, life is completely, your outcome of life and your success is equal to how many uncomfortable conversations, decisions, or situations you put yourself through. Because, you know, if you look at all change is painful to a degree, but it's also growth. Like when you're growing up as a kid and you're growing, I grew really fast. It was painful, you know, but you grew taller and stronger, you know. It's just like heartache. You know, every time your heart breaks, you come back with a bigger heart, you know.
Love it. And it's crazy that you talk about society and marketing and all this stuff. Even people, right? Like we're conditioned, the first thing you ask, what do you do? And it's crazy. Like everybody wants to know, what do you do as a human being? And I'm not saying that's a bad first question to ask, but I think a lot of times, like, that's, what do you do? What's your status? Who are you? And that's okay, but I think we're conditioned as humans to be like, all right, hey, what's the first question I'm going to ask you, man? What do you do?
And that's it. It needs to flip. The question should be, what's your story? Because people ask, where are you from? What's your job? And, like, at the end of the day, that doesn't define you. Your story defines you. Every day you're writing another chapter in your life. You got to ask yourself, is this the story that I want to read? Is this the life I want to read, you know? And also, like, traveling. You know, traveling is one of the best things you can do. It's the one thing you spend money on, and it makes you richer.
Yeah.
And there's this saying I live by, and that's, you know, the world's a book, and those who don't travel read only one page.
Chloe was a good example. You talked about the lady that you were talking to last night, and she was like, not jealous, but almost like, man, like everything that you talk about is a unique story or place or person that you have to live in different places. And you're like, well, because you live in Matthews, North Carolina, and you don't do anything outside of that book of Matthews. And I couldn't agree more, man. That's high on my priority list in terms of doing just travel. You know, you connect with different people. You know, it's powerful, I think.
And there's one thing, you know, like for an example, like I'll be honest with you, like, you know, I went to school, I got my master's degree, I took out student loans, and I'm being completely irresponsible to the degree where, you know, I owe the government money, and I plan to pay that back 1,000% because I'm not some free rider. Mm-hmm. But I refuse to slave my entire life away to pay back a student loan when I wasn't happy. And my point of view I had is, okay, well, you know, should I slave away? Should I do this? And then I had this epiphany in the stream, and, you know, in the stream I died, you know, and like, I personally, like, I do not support what I'm about to say, but, you know, I've done a lot of drugs in my life, you know, in random situations, and in the right conditions, I think it could be really eye-opening. And one time, I remember a friend gave me way too much mushrooms, which I think, you know, you gotta be careful with that. But in that moment, I died, and what I realized is that, you know, death is something you can't escape instead. We're all gonna die. The worst thing that can happen to you in your life is you're going to die. When people act like these things are the end of their life, or this debt, or this and that, and I'll tell you flat out, I know people with no money that are the happiest people in the world. I know people with no possessions that are the happiest people in the world. And I know people with everything, and they feel like they have nothing. So no matter what it is that's holding you back, don't focus on what you're afraid of. Focus on what you want, what you love, and intentions. Like, you can manifest anything you want in this life by switching, and instead of looking for problems or obstacles, looking for blessings and opportunities. And that'll change your life. So I meet so many people on the road and say, oh, it's great, you know, you live your life. I wish I could do that. I wish I know what I want. And I told them, like, dude, well, you started square one. You're not happy. You're not doing what you want to do. Fine. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. What it means is that you need to take that step in understanding yourself, or knowing what it is you want in life, you know, because life's going to tell you what it wants from you. It's going to tell you to pay your bills. Your family's going to tell you to call them and do all this stuff. And life will always be demanding on you. And it's not a selfish thing to take a step back and ask what you want from life. You know, when I had my corporate job, I was working, 80-hour weeks, and I worked with people, amazing people, and they told me, like, dude, this job will take everything from you. But most people don't know you can get just as much back as you want. You just need to be mindful of what you want and not let fear. And the funny thing is that you probably witnessed, everybody's seen it, where people seem like, okay, everything just kind of happens for them, you know? And some people are always grinding and working so hard. And true story, it was about my last tour. I was having wine with this guy at City, a friend of mine. He's a Freemason. And he was just flipping this on his head, and he was saying, if you want to be successful, if you're striving to be successful, you will never be successful because you're chasing. If you want to be successful right now, this moment. Feel successful. Dress like you're successful. Look in the mirror every morning and tell yourself, I am successful. And it will manifest, because that belief in yourself, or that you have it, is it's going to open your eyes and shift. Because the world around you, you're getting so many messages, advertising, thousands of things are happening around every day, and your brain,
but you're not good enough, or whatever.
Not even that. Your brain is filtering things out and connecting the things, and the brain is muscle. So the more that you can learn how to change it or adapt it to match what you want, or, attune to these kind of frequencies of, let's say you wake up and go, I'm successful. And the famous story is the guy who started Twitter. Like, he was a failure and had no idea what he was doing, but he just did all these blogs and said, I'm successful. And then out of the blue came up with Twitter. And there's so many success stories. So I think the problem with life is people let fears control them, because they focus on that gap, which is between who they are, or where they are, and what they want, or who they want to be. And the best way to bridge it is to stop. Be grateful. Sounds stupid, but an attitude of gratitude plants the seeds of happiness. Cheers, man.
That was so good. What are your thoughts over there, Diddy? You alive?
Yeah, no, just keep going, guys. Just keep talking. I'm just listening.
Thanks, Diddy, bro. And it's a pleasure to be connecting with you guys. And it's been awesome connecting with this legend, Tom. And yeah, for me, it's like, I'm a self-managed, self-funded musician singing songs of, conscious inspiration, as you would call it. So let's face it, like, the music industry is stacked against me. Like, here I am grinding and slugging out, spending every dollar I have into what I do, and then Cash Me Outside girl just gets $1 million deal yesterday, for music.
What do you, Johan, what drives you? Why do you want to be a musician? Like why music?
Well, and it's a good thing you said that. So, that actually going back, to the story of why I quit my corporate job. So I worked my tail off when I was in college, and what's driving me for music is something that's bigger than me. And I recognize that. And obviously Tom and a lot of people around the world I've seen connect with my music. Mm-hmm. And that's what drives me. Because, here I was, my corporate job, I had a terrible breakup. I was working 80-hour weeks, grinding myself to the bone. I was drinking every night. I was just not happy at all with my life and what I was doing. And I wasn't playing music at the time. And what happened is, I always relate this as the moment that changed my life, because these kind of experiences, what drives me. And what happened is that my friend said, hey, come play at his birthday party. And I was just like, whatever, I'm a cliche musician in the corner playing cover songs. So yeah, I went there and dude, straight up I was depressed and sad. So what am I doing? I'm sitting in the corner playing to nobody. Even though they all want me to play and they're yelling at me to play cover songs, I was just I was a shell of myself. And I just started playing my own music. I did it.
You had already written your songs and all that?
Yeah, so the song I played was a song I wrote when I was 19. I dealt with depression most of my life, and at 19, I almost killed myself. And I was telling you the story.
Yeah, you told me about that. I was actually hoping we would just rush on it, because I think at one point, anybody that has any sort of level head goes through those times.
Yeah.
Right? And we've actually, we had a gentleman on West Night. He's a huge inspiration for us, and he actually went to the brink of suicide and came back from that. Successful in our eyes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's deep when you talk about, thinking that it may not be worth it anymore. And it's scary. I'm not saying that I've never had thoughts of, why aren't they getting better? And why am I not feeling better? It's a crazy spot to be in.
And depression is a thing where it's hard to explain. You'll be happy and out of the blue, some thought or something will happen and will derail your whole day.
Or some guy, I was telling you at the bar, Jimmy at the bar says something to me. Turn the music.
Yeah.
That derailed my entire 3-hour morning, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to believe that, it is in your control to have power of choice to believe that you don't have to let Jimmy ruin your 3 hours in the morning. Mm-hmm. But then again, it just happens. You don't have the armor built up yet to say, fuck you, Jimmy.
Well, and that comes down to, again, I'll continue because I don't want to dwell too far from your question, but I'd love to answer it. But just real quick, going back to dreams, I really believe your dreams are a gateway into your subconscious. And I had this dream, and we don't have much time to go through it, but long story short, in the dream, I was losing my shit and pissed off like you would be in everyday life. Mm-hmm. And, I actually, in the dream, there's a handicapped guy that looked at me and he's like, why are you angry? And I went through, anybody with their day, this went wrong, I stubbed my toe with the elevator, you're all pissed off about everything. And this handicapped guy goes, okay, well, but that's not you. That's your emotion. That's your thoughts. So that's not you. You're letting it come you. You control your emotions and thoughts. They don't control you. Take a step back. Mm. And I woke up and I was like, whoa. And that dream, again, going back to the story, happened right after when I was 19 because, you deal with all this heaviness. And I was in college, not sure what to do. And, I was away from my family and the whole situation I was in was a total mess. And what happened is, I was depressed and drinking, and at the time I was in a bad place. They wanted to put me on medication for my depression, and I was dealing with it. And I was letting their diagnosis define me. And that night I was drinking, and I was about to, kill myself straight up. And I just had this thought in my head, and I related, I become spiritual through crazy situations, and I can only relate it to maybe some angel or somebody whispered in my head, sleep on it, don't do it. And I woke up the next day in tears with his son, and that was when I started this attitude of gratitude, because here I was waking up to a day that I wouldn't have if I killed myself. So I was looking at a bar of something, and I wrote this song, and it's called Alive. I'm going to release really soon. So anyways, that's the song I'm playing at this party, and here I am again in my depressed state, super sad, thinking nobody's hearing me. So I play this song, I'm thinking nothing of it. And when I was leaving the party, I actually had this random guy, I don't even know him, at the party. He walks up to me and just falls into me, give me a hug, and he's just in tears. And And this dude levels with me and says, you know, how he's dealing with all these depression and all these issues, and he heard my song and, you know, just brought him up. And he felt like it was the first time he felt clarity and happiness in so long. And then, so I stood there for about like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, here I am, lost, sad, depressed, in this terrible, dark place in my mind. But somehow, this music and this song reached out, touched somebody, and like,
flipped them.
Yeah. And then I just thought in my head, I'm like, well, you know what? If I'm going to be so selfish enough to kill myself, well, I should be so selfless enough to live my life moving forward to try and at least help others. You know, because I love Bob Marley. He says, you know, you live for yourself, you die in vain. You live for others, you live again. Mm-hmm. So that was the moment where I just went, holy crap, like here, what am I doing with my life? And since then, it's been a whirlwind of things happening, and so much work and ups and downs and so much. I pride myself in the saying that, you know, I live my life with no fear of rejection because I deal with it left, right, center. Mm-hmm. You know, that's not what drives me. If fame and fortune was drove me, I would have given up a long time ago. You know, here I am 30 years old. I've been told everything. Like, people tell me I'm too old, I'm not enough mainstream, I need to change, or it'll never happen, or I need this, or I need that. I've heard everything, you know, and sure, sometimes it gets me down, but what drives me is not them, because I don't care about them. Everybody's always going to project their insecurities onto you because they don't want you to succeed or be happy. Or even better yet, that's their understanding of life. People give you advice not based on your situation. They give you life based on their point of view and their situation.
Happens so much.
Yeah.
And the worst part is when you actually act on the recommendation or the advice of them, and then you find yourself in a situation that's unhappy for you because you've taken the advice of somebody that thought it was the right advice for you, but in reality, it's not the right advice, really. I mean, they mean the intentions are the right intentions, but I've done it. I can take it, you know, 2-3 times where I've taken advice from people that, you know.
And you probably went back to them and you're like, that was shit advice. Like, well, I kind of told you that, right? And then they kind of cover their tracks, you know, and I won't name it. Like, I dealt with a situation where, like, I missed my bus the other day, and I'll tell you right now before I go any deeper that I am so grateful I missed that bus because the people I connected with and missing that bus allowed me to see New York City sunrise. And, like, all these things happen, and I'll dive really quick into my view on that. But, you know, what it comes down to is, like, I told him, like, what the hell? You said I made my bus, and blah, blah, and you pushed me to stay. And his response was, well, I kind of felt, you know, you're going to miss your bus. And I was, like, the backtrack. And then all of a sudden it was my decision and my fault. And I was super angry, you know, and then, like, I took a step back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, whatever happens for a reason. And whether it's good or bad, you can't connect the dots looking forward on the graph. Mm. And when you're in those situations, especially if you're on, like me, or anybody, when you're doing something, like a drive for something that's directed, or honestly, maybe even life in general happens to you, life will move things around in order for things to happen for you. And on the onset, it might look like terrible or bad luck or bad things. But sometimes that's just because life's telling you that your plans aren't exactly what's meant to happen. Like, prime example, here I was the other night, and, you know, I missed that bus. And then, like, I went to the wrong gate, and I'm waiting in line for my bus to get this guy to tell me, hey, man, well, you missed your bus. You switched 2 minutes ago. This is the wrong one. And I'm, like, angry and furious. And then I remember this saying a good friend of mine told me. He's just like, look, he's like, if you focus on problems, you blind yourself to the opportunities that surround you. And that moment, I just went, okay, you know what, I'm going to trust the universe. I'm not going to worry so much. I'm going to take a breath. Where I am right now, me being pissed off or angry is going to do nothing except make me sit here. I'm just going to trust the universe that whatever's happening right now, it's happening for a reason. And you know, this situation, whatever it is. And sure enough, I will not kid you, right after I said that, you know, I went to the bathroom, walking back, I held the door for a guy. We start chatting. He's a big MC, radio host from New Jersey. He flew into New York and was there. So we start chatting, and, like, he just loves my music. I tell him what I'm doing, and he gets my cards. Like, I can't wait to check out your tunes. Maybe we'll try and get you for an interview. Mm-hmm. So here's this situation where maybe nothing comes of it. Maybe everything comes from that. But here's an opportunity and a person that I would not have met had I made my thoughts. And then after that, I just, I took a nap, and I was on the phone with this guy figuring out how to do a plane, and I said, screw it. I'm going to get a plane, and I'm going to, spend every dollar I have to come to the show because here this guy is, I just met on Instagram, the other world that believes in me. Mm-hmm. And my viewpoint is that you need to be grateful for the people that support and believe in what you do no matter what it is. Because there's going to be plenty of people who are going to tell you that you can't do it, can't make it, whatever it is you're doing. And anybody that believes in you and supports you, you got to give them all the love and support and attention you can because those people are on the same course as you. Those are you people. And sure enough, right after that, I walked outside, and I lived in New York since I was 11 years old. Here I am looking at Times Square sunrise at the most beautiful moment, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, this is worth every dollar and every headache, And that's in life. I think the problem you have is that you're so lost in your head in trying to compare what it is you want with what's happening that you blind yourself to experience your life. You blind yourself to everything that's around you, Again, when I travel the world, I meet so many walks of life. And I'll tell you what, the most successful people I meet and the happiest people are the ones where they'll have a million things going on, like, prime example, I have a friend, he's a multi-millionaire, IT startup guy. And we'll be doing something, and he'll be talking. He won't touch his phone. He's like, how amazing is this coffee? Look at that. How beautiful is that?
In the moment.
Yeah, and, they realize the power of a moment. And all your life is a series of moments. Like, everything in your head, is either a memory of a past moment or a prediction of the future. And, when it comes down to life, all regret and sadness that comes from you is when you're comparing yourself to either your future or your past to your present. You're not happy. And the moments you're happiest are probably the ones where you're just living. Like time flies. And that's really when you're living. And I think it sounds stupid, but it's really simple. Where they say, the power of now. And I agree with the power of now. Live the power of now, but have that mentality of manifesting what it is you want, because where your mind and heart goes, life flows. So
let's wrap it up, brother. That was unreal. 8:20.
Yeah, sorry to limit guys. We'll have to do another one.
We always, literally, I'm so I can't even say how thankful I'm, man. Like from the bottom of our heart, man. But we always, at the end of every episode, we always give thanks to not only the people that we interview, but also our listeners, right? We're the same. We're just starting. We have 230 people on Instagram. Yeah. But we always think if one person listens to this episode, that's it. It's a success. So that's why we not only thank people that spend their time like you with us, but also the people that might step on 5 or 10 minutes and just, kick it with us, listen, and hopefully get value from it. And I think this has been tremendous for me. And so I just want to shout you out and say thank you for taking your time.
Definitely. And real quick, I'll give you a prime example of what you're doing. And thank you to all the listeners and everybody that tunes in. And I wish you all the best of happiness and love and success from my heart to yours and from my spirit to guide yours in the right direction. And I'll just tell you a quick story, and it'll be 2 seconds. And your mentality is 100% spot on. I worked with a lot of people in the music industry. And the story that I love is somebody says, the lucky breaks comes from hard work and just professionalism or whatever you want to say. But the moment I remember the story told me is this band, and they were playing at a show. And they're really big now. I'm not going to name the band. They're really big touring Europe and all around the world now. And their lucky break came from a show with 5 people. There was supposed to be 100 people in this venue. There was 5 people there. And this band took the mentality of whether there's one person in the room or 1,000 people in the room, they paid a ticket, and we are going to give them our all. So they did that, and one of the guys in there was actually a bassist from one of the most, I'm not going to name, but a really huge band, and he saw them that day, and they didn't know anything of it. Anyways, they applied for a music festival, and that guy's like, oh, yeah, I heard of them, gets them to the festival, introduces them to this big band, and they love them. Touring Europe, blows up their whole entire career just from playing that. And I will say that if you want to be successful in life, all you need to do is just have that mentality of whatever it is, whether it's one person, 1,000 people buying your product at your show, listening to your podcast. Show them that respect of giving them your all.
Yeah.
Because that can turn. That's how you change heads, and that's what life's about. Simple as that.
That's awesome. And we also do one more thing. And Eric, I'm going to let you. You've been pretty quiet. I'm going to let you take away the final segment here, and we'll wrap it up.
No, yeah, you got it.
What's that?
Say you got it. Go ahead. Keep going.
All right.
You're vibing with this, girl. I'm vibing with you, man. We'll definitely have to do another one.
All right, so at the end of every episode, we always go through what we call the grinder of the week.
Yep.
Grinder of the week is just something that we think embodies the traits, the hustle, the hard work, and really is doing what we believe at the journey to greatness. And that's the beauty of this, right? We're documenting your story right now. You've been at it for a long time, but you're not a Jack Johnson. You're not a top of the heap, right? Like you're still.
Well, not
yet. Of course. Yeah, of course. But the reality is that's the journey. Like that's the journey for greatness. And so the grinder of the week is somebody that we look at and we're like, wow, like that guy has the right mentality. We believe in this guy. And I mean, it's pretty obvious, brother. We're gonna give it to you.
I know. And I'll tell you, in the music industry, they have this saying. You guys, you ever hear that they throw the term overnight success? They say that overnight success usually averages 7 years. So people don't realize that. For a musician to make it, they're usually grinding. Prime example, Justin Bieber made it big when he was 14. He was grinding to 6 years old. Okay? And I've not given him an example because I like the Biebs. No offense. Like,
you got the Bieber fever.
I can't really, and as I talked to a friend the other day, like a friend of mine works at Bieber and knew him when he started. And my straight up opinion is like, I cannot pass any judgment on that kid because I don't know what it would be like to be that age and become huge and a star. Like, I pass no judgment on others. And I think, it's just overnight success is a lot of hard work, and when it comes down to grinding, bro, New York is all about hustle. Every city I go to has a word, New York was hustle, Boston was vibe, Charlotte I feel like is love, I like love here.
Yeah.
And
also success, you know what I mean? And it was funny that, we'll wrap it up really quick here, but I almost felt a little bit of, not fear, but I was almost stressed. I was like, man, I hope it goes well. I hope there's people there. And when you were jamming, I'm like, there's not a lot of people here. And I felt that negativity creeping in. But then I'm like, you know what? This is the way it is for like what we talked about for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And first time you're in a city, you got to build yourself up. You know what I mean? So I just thought of it.
And remember what I said when you brought that up?
Yeah.
I was just like, man, it don't matter. I'm like, there's 1 or 1,000 people. I'm still going to put on a good show.
Yeah.
There's somebody here to listen.
It was awesome.
And it was a great night.
It was.
That was awesome. I pretty much sold out of shirts. That's good.
So, all right, Diddy. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up. We got to get this cat to the bus.
Big love, y'all. Unfortunately, I got to take a bus now to go up to Nashville, and then I'm in Atlanta, Orlando, and all around the U.S. But hey, man, you got to grind.
And Instagram, Johan Danno.
Yep. So follow my journeys. Instagram, Johan Danno, JohanDanno, or JohanDanno.com, and Facebook, big love to all you people around the world, and keep chasing your dreams.
GP, anything you can give us on that? Is it coming out?
Yeah, so pretty much what I'm doing now is I'm about to put some shirts up, and then if you buy a shirt, you get a free digital copy of my EP. And then this tour is really a big success. I pretty much had to cancel my trip back to Australia because I got some big meetings in LA, and it looks like I'll be doing a couple of U.S. tours now and following up because there's just big love for all the people around the U.S., people like you.
Awesome.
And that's like my thing now is like, my big saying is, when the wind is in your favor, fly your kite. And always be where you're celebrated, not tolerated. And everywhere I'm going, there's nothing but love and flowing. So we got to keep this going.
Let's wrap it up, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me. Big love, right?
Talk soon. See you, Diddy.
All right. See you later.
Take care, my man.